The unforgiving wind howls across the jagged peaks of the Silver Pine Mountains. Mark Thornton stands at the edge of a sheer drop, his weathered face lined with 5 years of grief. At 58, his body shows the toll of endless searching. Sunken eyes, leathery skin, and a perpetual hunch that wasn't there before his daughter vanished. His knuckles turn white as he grips a faded trail map, the same one he's carried on every expedition since Eliza disappeared. 50 feet below, something glints in the sunlight. Mark squints, his breath catching in his throat. "No," he whispers, barely audible even to himself. With practiced movements that betray years of searching these same mountains, he secures iranditu, climbing rope to a nearby tree and descends into the ravine. His boots slip on loose shale, each step dislodging small avalanches of pebbles that disappear into the mist below. 5 years, 3 months, and 17 days. He counts in his mind, the exact time since he last saw his daughter's smile. He reaches a narrow ledge where the ravine wall recesses. His eyes lock onto a single object half buried in the dirt, a hiking boot. Women's size 7. Red laces frayed but still knotted the exact way Eliza always tied them. Loop, swoop, and pull twice. Mark's hands tremble as he kneels. His fingers hover inches from the boot, as if touching it might make it vanish like a mirage. Eliza. The name escapes his lips, a prayer and a plea. He finally touches the boot. Caked mud crumbles away, revealing a worn manufacturer's tag. The same brand he bought his daughter for her 23rd birthday, her last birthday. The memory floods back with painful clarity. Eliza tearing wrapping paper from a box, laughing as she lifted the boots with reverence. Dad, finally replacing. My old boots. These are professional grade. I could climb Everest in these. He'd smiled then, carefree and unaware of what was coming. No Everest, just our usual trails. She'd winked at him. For now. Mark gently works the boot free from the earth. Something inside rustles. He tips it carefully. A folded paper falls into his palm. The paper is stained dark brown. Blood. His mouth goes dry as he unfolds it with shaking fingers. The handwriting is unmistakable. Small, precise letters he'd recognize anywhere. It's torn from a journal. If you're reading this, he reads aloud, voice breaking. The rest is missing, torn away. Mark frantically searches the boot for more, finding nothing. He scans the ledge, spotting disturbed earth nearby. He digs with desperate intensity, fingernails breaking against the rocky soil. 6 inches down, his fingers brush leather. A journal. The cover is weather-beaten, its edges warped. An embossed ET barely visible in the corner. Mark's breath comes in ragged gasps as he opens to the first page. Blank. Second page. Blank. Many pages have been torn out. A sound drifts up from deeper in the ravine, so faint he almost misses it, like whispers carried on the wind. "Hello? Is someone there?" he calls out, his voice echoing off the stone walls. Silence. Then, a whisper, indistinct. Female. He can't be sure. Mark shines his flashlight into the darkness below. The beam catches something. Movement. "Eliza," he calls, hope and fear colliding in his chest. The whisper comes again, louder now, almost like his name. He clips the journal to his belt and begins a treacherous descent deeper into the ravine. The whispers grow louder with each foot he descends. Words almost form, almost recognizable, but dissolve into echoes. His foot slips. Rocks tumble into the abyss. The whispering stops abruptly. Mark freezes, listening. Only the wind remains. A cloud passes, casting the ravine in sudden shadow. He glances up at the darkening sky, then back down toward where the sound had come from. "I'm coming," he whispers, more to himself than to whatever, or whoever, waits. Below. What, or who, is calling him down into the darkness? Dawn breaks over the Silver Pine Mountains. 5 years earlier. Eliza Thornton stands at her cabin window, watching the morning mist curl between pine trunks like ghostly fingers. Her backpack leans against the door, already packed, water bottles filled, emergency supplies checked twice. She traces a route on her map with her fingertip, lingering on an unmarked area she's circled in red marker. Whisper Rock, she says to herself, her voice filled with the quiet determination that defined her. Today's the day. She checks her watch. 5:17 a.m. Too early to call her father. He would worry, might even insist on coming along. This journey is hers alone. She slips the map into her pocket, shoulders her backpack, and steps out into the cool mountain air. Present day. Mark Thornton sits on the edge of his daughter's bed, unchanged since the day she disappeared. Dust motes dance in the sunbeam, cutting through the half-open blinds. His fingers trace the spines of well-worn adventure books on her shelf. Jack London, John Krakauer, Cheryl Strayed, her heroes. The wall above her desk is covered with maps, some commercially printed, others hand-drawn. Pins marking completed hikes, dreams yet unfulfilled. Mark's eyes focus on a map of the Silver Pine Range, a red circle drawn around a remote area labeled only in Eliza's handwriting. Whisper Rock. He'd noticed it before, of course. The police had too in those frantic first days. Search parties had combed that area, found nothing. No tracks, no signs. Like she'd simply vanished into thin air. Mark opens the drawer of her nightstand. Inside sits a framed photo from their last hike together, 2 weeks before she disappeared. Father and daughter, arm in arm, identical grins as they stood atop Eagle Point. He remembers snapping that selfie, how Eliza had insisted they commemorate their conquests, as she jokingly called their weekend hikes. "I should have gone with you," he whispers to the empty room. "I should have been there." He closes his eyes, remembering their last conversation. He'd been busy with work, unable to join her that weekend. Next time, he'd promised. A promise. Now, impossible to keep. The doorbell rings, jarring Mark from his memories. He trudges down the stairs, his movements heavy with the weight of grief renewed by his Ravine discovery. Through the peephole, he sees Detective Lena Ramos, the only officer who didn't give up the search when others declared it a cold case. "Mark," she says when he opens the door. Her eyes immediately register his disheveled appearance. "What happened?" He steps aside, letting her in. On the kitchen table sits the boot and journal, carefully placed in clear plastic bags. His years. Working crime scene cleanup having taught him about preserving evidence. "Where?" Ramos asks, putting on gloves before touching anything. "Northern Ravine, the one we never fully searched because of the rock slide." His voice is hollow, mechanical. "I found this inside the boot." He points to the blood-stained paper, now carefully flattened in another bag. Ramos examines the torn journal page with its incomplete message. "If you're reading this, DNA will confirm it's her blood," Mark says. "But I know it is." Ramos nods, her expression grave. "We'll process everything." "But Mark—" "I know. Don't get my hopes up." He slumps into a chair. "She's been gone 5 years. But this—" He gestures to the items. "This is new. These weren't there before. Someone put them there recently. Or something exposed them. The spring floods, maybe." "No." Mark's voice finds sudden strength. "That ledge has been dry for decades. I've been checking it monthly. These were placed there for me to find." Ramos looks skeptical but pulls out her phone. "I'll call it in. We'll get a team up there by noon." She pauses, studying Mark. "Did you sleep after finding these?" He shakes his head. "There were whispers, coming from deeper in the ravine. I tried to follow them, but night was falling. I couldn't." His voice cracks. I couldn't risk getting stuck down there. Whispers. Ramos raises an eyebrow. I know how it sounds. Grief, exhaustion, thin mountain air. But I heard something, Lena. Ramos places a hand on his shoulder. We'll look into everything, but first, she pulls a file from her bag, stamped with bold red letters, Unsolved. I need to show you something. Inside are photos Mark has never seen before. 3 hikers, all young women, all disappeared within a 100-mile radius of where Eliza vanished. All in the 5 years since. This wasn't public information, Ramos explains. We didn't want to create panic, but after what you found, it's time you knew. Eliza may have been the first, but she wasn't the last. Mark stares at the photos, faces of strangers now connected to his daughter through tragedy. Why keep this from me? Because you would have done exactly what you're about to tell me you're going to do. Go back out there, alone, looking for connections we can't prove exist. Mark meets her eyes. These women, did they leave anything behind? Journals? Notes? Ramos hesitates before answering. No journals, but the most recent disappearance, Tanya Wu, her backpack was found 3 months ago. Inside was a hand-drawn map with a circle around the same spot Eliza marked. Whisper Rock, Mark whispers. That name doesn't appear on any official maps of the Silver Pine Range. We found no geological formation matching that description. Whatever Whisper Rock is, it seems to exist only in the knowledge of those who've vanished. A heavy silence falls between them, broken by a sharp knock at the door. Mark and Ramos exchange glances. She rests her hand on her holstered weapon as Mark approaches the door. Through the peephole, he sees no one. He opens the door cautiously, looking left and right. The porch is empty except for a small package wrapped in brown paper. No labels, no postage. Mark picks it up, feeling something shift. Inside, back in the kitchen, he carefully unwraps it. A digital camera falls into his palm. Eliza's camera, the one she always took on her hikes. The one never found despite extensive searches. This is impossible, he breathes, turning it over, in his hands. This was with her when she disappeared. Ramos is already on her phone, requesting forensics and additional officers. Mark powers on the camera with trembling fingers. It comes to life, battery somehow still charged. He navigates. To the gallery. 1 photo. Dated 3 days ago. The image shows the entrance to a cave, hidden behind a waterfall. Scratched into the rock beside the entrance, a crude symbol. A spiral with what appears to be an eye at its center. Mark zooms in on the image. In the shadowy background of the cave entrance, a figure stands. Too blurry to identify, but unmistakably human. Someone's playing games with us, Ramos says, peering over his shoulder. Mark shakes his head slowly. No, someone's leaving us a trail. As if responding to his words, the camera beeps. The screen flashes once, twice, then displays a new message. Back. Where it began. Midnight. Come alone. The message disappears as quickly as it appeared. Mark looks up at Ramos, whose face has drained of color. Tell me you saw that. She nods slowly. I did. She pulls out her phone again, but Mark places his hand over hers. Wait. If we bring in a full team, whoever this is will scatter. This might be our only chance. Our only chance to what, Mark? Walk into an obvious trap? I can't let you do that. Then come with me. Just you. No one else. Ramos stares at the now blank camera screen, then back at the unsolved case file on the table. This goes against every protocol. Protocol hasn't found these women, hasn't found Eliza. A long silence stretches between them, finally broken by Ramos's resigned sigh. If, and I mean if, I agree to this, we go in prepared, armed, with emergency backup on standby. Mark nods, already moving toward his closet where his hiking gear waits, always ready, always hoping for this day. Back where it began, he repeats. That has to be Trailhead 7, where she started her last hike. As Mark gathers supplies, Ramos studies the journal found in the ravine. She carefully opens it, finding most pages torn out. But in the back, a single entry remains, dated 5 years ago, the day Eliza disappeared. Why did the police abandon the search so soon? Mark's hands tremble as he holds his daughter's journal under the harsh light of his kitchen table. Detective Ramos sits across from him, her notepad open, pen poised. 5 years of dead ends, false leads, and fading hope have led to this moment. Are you sure you want to do this now? Ramos asks. We could wait for forensics to... No more waiting. Mark's voice is like steel wrapped in velvet. She's been gone 1,834 days. I'm not wasting another minute. He carefully opens the journal, past the torn edges where pages have been ripped out. Near the middle, he finds an intact entry. The paper is water-stained, the blue ink faded but legible. Eliza's handwriting, normally precise and neat, appears rushed, the letters uneven. May 17th, Mark reads aloud. Day 3 on the Northern Trail. Something's watching me. He pauses, swallowing hard. Ramos leans forward. Go on, she urges gently. I first noticed it yesterday at dusk. A feeling more than a sight. Eyes on my back as I set up camp. I told myself it was just wildlife, maybe a mountain lion or bear. But wildlife moves on. This presence has followed me for miles. I've checked my tracks, convinced myself I'm alone, but the feeling persists. Mark's voice catches. He takes a deep breath before continuing. This morning, I found footprints circling my tent. Human footprints. But I'm on a trail that sees maybe 3 hikers a month, and I've encountered no one. The footprints appeared, overnight. They lead away from my camp toward Whisper Rock, my destination. I should turn back. Every instinct tells me to turn back, but I've waited too long to see what's there. Dad would tell me to play it safe, but Dad isn't here, and some mysteries demand to be solved, whatever the cost. Mark looks up, his eyes glistening. She was headed to Whisper Rock deliberately. This wasn't just a regular hike. Ramos makes a note. Did she ever mention this place to you before? Mark shakes his head. Never. At least not by that name. He turns the page. The next entry is shorter, more hurried. May 18th. I'm being followed. Not just watched now. Pursued. I've doubled back, laid false trails, used every trick Dad taught me about losing someone. In the wilderness. Nothing works. When I stop, they stop. When I move, they move. Always maintaining the same distance. Always out of sight. Mark's finger traces his daughter's words as if touching them might somehow connect him to her. The strangest part, there's only silence. No breaking twigs, no shifting. Stones. Whoever, whatever, follows makes no sound. I've started talking to myself just to break the oppressive quiet. I'm a day's hike from Whisper Rock now. Should reach it by nightfall tomorrow. If I'm still being followed then, I'll finally see who it is when they have nowhere to hide. Mark turns the page only to find blank paper. He frantically flips through the remaining pages. Nothing. Until the very last page, a hastily scrawled message. If you're reading this, I made it to Whisper Rock. The truth is, the sentence ends abruptly with a dark smudge forming an X across the rest of the page. Ramos takes the journal from Mark's shaking hands. We'll analyze the smudge. It could be blood, could be dirt. It's blood, Mark says with certainty. The same blood on the note in her boot. He closes his eyes, seeing his daughter alone in the wilderness, writing these words while something stalked her. His mind floods with images too painful to hold. Eliza. Afraid. Eliza running. Eliza. The camera on the table suddenly powers on by itself. Both Mark and Ramos jump at the electronic chime. The display shows the same cave entrance photo as before, but zoomed in on the blurry figure in the background. "What in hell?" Ramos mutters. Mark takes the camera, staring at the screen. It's changing. The image sharpens slightly, pixel by pixel, as if being enhanced by unseen hands. The figure becomes clearer, not enough to identify, but enough to see it's a woman in hiking clothes. Long dark hair, about Eliza's height. "This isn't possible," Ramos says, taking the camera from Mark. "This device shouldn't be able to enhance its own photos." Mark barely hears her. His mind races, connecting invisible dots. What if she's alive, Lena? What if all this time— "Mark, don't." Ramos's voice is firm but gentle. "We don't know anything. Yet." She circled Whisper Rock on her map. She wrote about heading there deliberately. She called it the truth in her last entry. Mark's words tumble out faster now, adrenaline overriding caution. What if she found something there? Something someone didn't want found? Like what? I don't know. Drug operation, illegal mining, some kind of cult. People have disappeared in these mountains for centuries. Mark stands abruptly, pacing the small kitchen. And now someone, maybe Eliza herself, is leaving us breadcrumbs. The boot, the journal, the camera. He stops, facing Ramos. "We need to follow them. Tonight." Ramos shakes her head. "We need backup, equipment, a plan." Midnight, back where it began. That's the plan. Mark checks his watch. "We have 6 hours to prepare. 6 hours to possibly save my daughter, and maybe those other women too." His voice breaks on the last words. 5 years of suppressed hope surges through him like an electric current. For the first time since Eliza vanished, he allows himself to believe she might be alive. Ramos watches him, concern etched across her face. What if it's not Eliza leaving these clues? What if someone's using your daughter to lure you into the same trap? The question hangs in the air between them. Mark sinks back into his chair. "I don't have a choice, Lena. If there's even a 1% chance she's alive." Ramos nods slowly. "I'll arrange for a backup team on standby. Not at the trailhead, they'd be spotted, but close enough to respond if we signal." "Thank you," Mark whispers. He returns to the journal, studying the torn edges where pages have been removed. "Someone didn't want us to read everything," he observes, "but they left enough to draw us in." Classic manipulation technique, Ramos agrees. Give just enough information to ensure compliance. Mark carefully places the journal in an evidence bag. "I need to get something from Eliza's room." Upstairs, he stands before her map-covered wall. He studies the circle around Whisper Rock, comparing its location to official topographic maps. The area contains numerous unmarked caves and ravines, any of which could hide a secret. He slides open Eliza's desk drawer and removes a small leather case. Inside, a compass, his gift to her when she turned 16. "So you'll always find your way home," he'd told her. Mark clutches the compass, tears finally breaking free. He presses his forehead against the cool metal. "I'm coming, sweetheart," he whispers. "I swear I'm coming." Back downstairs, he finds Ramos examining the hiking boot found in the ravine. "The wear pattern is unusual," she says without looking up. "These weren't used for months of hiking. The soles are almost new." Mark freezes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying these might not be the boots Eliza was wearing when she disappeared. These might be the boots someone wants us to find." Mark takes the boot, examining it closely. The size, the brand, the red laces, all exactly like Eliza's. But Ramos is right. The minimal wear doesn't match a serious hiker's footwear after a 3-day mountain trek. So, all of this, the boot, the journal, the camera, it could all be— He can't finish the sentence. An elaborate setup, Ramos completes his thought. The question is, why now? After 5 years, why start leaving clues? Mark stares at the boot in his hands. If not Eliza's, then whose? And if someone planted it for him to find, how did they know he'd be searching that specific ravine today? As if reading his mind, Ramos asks, "Why were you at that ravine today, Mark? Of all days?" He looks up, the realization dawning slowly. "I received an anonymous text 3 days ago. It just said, 'Northern Ravine. Look deeper.' I thought it was a cruel prank. I get them sometimes, people who think it's funny to give false hope, but something felt different about this one." Ramos pulls out her phone. "I need that number." It was blocked. I tried calling back, but even blocked numbers leave traces. Our tech team can... The kitchen lights flicker, then go out completely. The house plunges into darkness. "Power outage?" Mark whispers. Ramos draws her weapon. "Stay here." She moves, silently toward the window, peering through the blinds. The streetlights outside are still on. Only Mark's house has lost power. A soft thud comes from upstairs. Something falling, or something being moved. Someone's in the house. Ramos mouths silently to Mark, gesturing for him to get down. Mark's heart hammers in his chest as he crouches behind the kitchen island. 5 years of grief and uncertainty crystallize into a single, clarifying thought. Whatever truth lies hidden in the mountains, someone doesn't want it found. The stairs creak. Slow, deliberate footsteps descend toward the kitchen. Ramos positions herself beside the doorway, weapon raised. Mark grabs a knife from the counter, his only available weapon. The footsteps stop just outside the kitchen door. Silence stretches for 1 second. 2, 3. A piece of paper slides under the door, drawing a torn journal page. The footsteps retreat rapidly. The front door opens and closes. Ramos rushes after the intruder while Mark scrambles for the paper, unfolding it with shaking hands. In Eliza's handwriting. What did Eliza mean? And what happened next? Dawn breaks over Trailhead 7. Mark and Detective Ramos stand at the mouth of the path, gear strapped to their backs. The forest looms before them, ancient pines stretching toward a crimson sky. Mark checks his watch, 5:17 a.m., the exact time Eliza began her final hike 5 years ago. "We follow her original route," Mark says, unfolding a map annotated with Eliza's handwriting. "She would have reached Whisper Rock on her 3rd day." Ramos adjusts her tactical vest, her service weapon visible beneath her jacket. Backup team is in position. 1 call, and they're 20 minutes out by helicopter. They set out in silence, each step taking them deeper into the wilderness that claimed Eliza. By mid-morning, they've covered 7 miles, the air growing thinner as they climb. "She camped here the first night," Mark says at a small clearing. Nothing remains of Eliza's presence, but Mark stands motionless, as if seeing ghosts. "Good spot. Clear sight lines. Access to water," Ramos observes. "Your daughter knew what she was doing. I taught her, every summer since she was 12, how to track, how to hide, how to survive." By late afternoon, dark clouds gather on the horizon. As they traverse a narrow ridge, Ramos suddenly stops, kneeling to examine something. Tracks. Fresh. Someone came through here this morning. The footprints are distinct in a patch of mud. A single set, leading in the same direction they're headed. They follow the mysterious tracks until they vanish on rocky ground. An emergency shelter comes into view just as the first raindrops fall, a simple wooden structure tucked against the mountainside. Inside, Mark discovers a logbook chained to the wall. He flips through it, stopping at an entry from 5 years ago. "Eliza was here," he breathes. "May 17th. Seeking truth at Whisper Rock. If I don't return, tell my father I had to know." Below her entry, a new one catches his eye, dated yesterday. The circle is almost complete. 5 have entered. 1 remains. Beside it, the same spiral, symbol they saw in the camera's photo. Thunder cracks outside, rain now falling in sheets. Mark peers into the gathering darkness. At the edge of the trees, a figure stands motionless in the downpour. "I'm going out there," Mark says, reaching for the door. Ramos blocks his path. That's exactly what they want. "We're not alone out here," a voice rasps from the darkest corner of the shelter. A man sits on the floor behind the door, so still they hadn't noticed him. Long gray beard, weather-beaten face, eyes like chips of ice. "Been here all along," the man says as Ramos draws her weapon. "Been here for years." "You knew Eliza?" Mark asks, heart seizing. Knew all of them. The Seekers, the ones who heard the whispers. The Hermits. Gaze never wavers. Forest takes what it wants. Has always taken, will always take. "What are you talking about?" Mark demands. "Do you know what happened to my daughter?" The hermit slowly rises. "Whisper Rock isn't a place, it's a gateway." "Gateway. To what?" Ramos asks. "To the truth she sought. The truth they all sought. But truth has a price." "Wait!" Mark grabs the man's arm. "Tell me what happened to my daughter." The hermit looks down at Mark's hand. "Follow her path tomorrow. But remember, don't trust the path you see." He steps into the storm and vanishes into the darkness. The next morning, they reach a fork in the trail not marked on any map. Mark consults the compass, but the needle spins wildly, refusing to settle. "Don't trust the path you see," Mark recalls. The left path shows signs of recent use. The right appears untouched. "This way," Mark says, pointing right. The path less traveled. The unmarked path leads them to a steep ravine. Mark spots a narrow ledge cutting across the rock face. "That's our route," he says, securing a rope to a tree. "That's suicide," Ramos protests. "It's hidden on purpose." The ledge leads to a small cave with ancient petroglyphs covering the walls, stick figures around a central spiral symbol. Half buried in the sand lies a camera tripod with a name etched on one leg. E. Thornton. "Eliza was here," Mark says, voice tight. "This is solid proof." The digital camera in his pack powers on with a chime. The screen shows a new image, the same cave, but focused on a specific petroglyph near the back wall. Mark approaches the highlighted spiral, placing his palm against it as shown in the image. A low rumbling fills the cave. A section of the rear wall grinds inward, revealing a dark passage. The tunnel descends steeply, lined with modern electric lanterns. It opens into a vast underground chamber that Mark's flashlight cannot fully illuminate. Ramos activates a flare, revealing dozens of stone columns and wooden structures forming a small village. Cabins, walkways, storage buildings. In the center stands a larger structure, a meeting hall. Inside, rows of benches face a raised platform. On the wall behind it, a familiar spiral symbol dominates. Beneath it, words carved in stone. "The 5 shall enter. The 1 shall return." "What is this place? Some kind of cult?" Mark asks. "A very organized one," Ramos replies, examining papers on a table. "These are topographical surveys, geological studies, carbon dating results of human remains dating back thousands of years. All female. All between ages 20 and 25. A metallic clank echoes as the main doors swing shut, locking them inside. A low hum begins to fill the chamber. The spiral symbol glows with an eerie blue light. The hum becomes whispers. The circle must be completed. The gateway must be opened. The floor beneath the platform slides away, revealing a shaft emanating pale, pulsing light. "It's calling me," Mark whispers. "Eliza's down there. I can feel it. This is how they lure people in." Ramos pulls him away from the edge. A woman's voice emerges from the whispers. "Dad? Help me, Dad. I'm trapped." Mark moves toward the shaft, but Ramos tackles him. "That's not your daughter." A grinding sound fills the chamber as a hidden panel opens in the wall. Light spills through the new opening. As they hurry toward it, Marky stops. My pack. I left it by the platform. Eliza's journal's in there. He returns to grab it, but finds his path blocked by a tall, well-dressed man, Michael Cleary, lead investigator on Eliza's original missing person case. "Mr. Thornton," Cleary says calmly, "you weren't supposed to be here until tomorrow." "You," Mark gasps, "but you told me that we'd done everything possible?" "I lied. Some truths are too valuable to share." Ramos appears behind Cleary, weapon drawn. "You're part of whatever this is?" "I protect it. Guide worthy seekers to it." Cleary turns to Mark. "Your daughter was worthy. She understood the importance of the gateway." "Gateway to what?" Mark demands. "To truth. Knowledge beyond human understanding. The 5 most worthy enter. Only the most worthy returns." "And the 4 who don't return?" Mark asks. "Necessary sacrifices. As it has been since the first gateway opened." "You're insane," Ramos says. "You've been helping kidnap and murder women." "No one is murdered," Cleary insists. "They choose, willingly, as Eliza chose." Mark grabs Cleary by the throat. "Where is she?" "Tomorrow night, the gateway opens again. 1 will return, the most worthy. It could be Eliza." A low growl interrupts them, inhuman, emanating from the shaft. The blue light pulses rapidly. "It's happening too soon," Cleary whispers, fear in his voice. The cycle is accelerating. A concussive blast erupts from the shaft, knocking all 3 to the ground. The growl becomes a roar, filling the chamber. What else lies hidden beneath the mountain? Mark regains consciousness slowly. The blue light is gone. Nearby, Ramos stirs, coughing. "Where's Cleary?" she asks, checking her weapon. The former investigator is nowhere to be seen. The shaft remains open, but dark now. "We need to get to the surface," Ramos says. "Call in the team." Not without answers. Mark notices something by the shaft's edge. A silver bracelet engraved with "To E.T. Adventure awaits." "I gave her this for her 18th birthday." He points to a small dent in the metal. "This happened on a hike 2 years before she disappeared." Voices echo from the passage, multiple people approaching. They hide as several figures enter, carrying equipment. "The resonance flared too early," a woman says. "Readings are off the charts." "If the gateway opens prematurely," someone begins. "Or doesn't open at all," another adds. "What happens to the returning seeker if the gateway fails?" A heavy silence falls before the first woman answers. "They remain trapped between worlds. Forever." Mark and Ramos edge toward the escape passage when Mark's phone suddenly chimes. The sound echoes like a gunshot. "Run!" Ramos shouts, drawing her weapon. "Go! Someone has to report what we found." Mark sprints into the passage, emerging eventually from a hidden entrance disguised by thick underbrush. He checks his phone to find a message from an unknown number. "Run! They're coming." Then, "Not all returns are willing." Mark follows his compass, north. After 20 minutes, he reaches a stream and notices something red smeared on a mossy boulder. Fresh blood. Footprints lead away, possibly a woman's. The trail leads to a small clearing with a crude shelter. Inside, he finds evidence of someone surviving in the wild. Foraged food, a makeshift bed, a sound behind him. A woman appears, clothes tattered, hair matted, face smeared with dirt. She approaches cautiously. "I'm looking for my daughter, Eliza," Mark says gently. The woman doesn't speak but gestures eastward, then taps her chest. "You're one of them? One who entered?" A slow nod. She points to herself, then holds up 4 fingers. "The 4th? You were the 4th to enter?" She nods, then makes a cutting motion across her throat and points eastward urgently. A drone buzzes overhead. The woman vanishes into the forest. Mark runs, eventually disabling the drone with his jacket. He continues eastward and discovers a research facility with professional security guards. A message from Ramos arrives. Safe, escaped with evidence. Facility is government black site. Then, lab analysis complete. Boot fibers, not Eliza's. Synthetic materials not available 5 years ago. Blood on journal pages, not human. Chemical compound designed to mimic blood. Mark examines the camera. The serial number doesn't match Eliza's. Another fake. A flash of red catches his eye, a moss-covered boulder with a fresh handprint. Nearby, footprints lead deeper into the forest. He follows them to a familiar ravine. At the bottom, a fissure in the rock wall leads to a small cavern with crude drawings, 5 figures entering a spiral, 1 emerging. Who, or what, just passed through here? In the center of the cavern sits a small metal box. Mark approaches, cautiously kneeling beside it. The box is military-grade, waterproof, and durable, with a simple latch securing it closed. He opens it to find a digital camera, Eliza's actual camera, confirmed by the scratches on the case he remembers so well. Beside it, a handwritten note. The truth isn't what you think. The gateway chooses. We don't. Mark powers on the camera with trembling fingers. A single video file is available. He presses play. Eliza's face fills the screen, thinner than he remembers, dark circles under her eyes, but unmistakably her. She speaks urgently. Dad, if you're watching this, you followed my trail. I knew you would. I'm recording this on the eve of my return. If I'm chosen. The others think it's an honor. They don't understand what's on the other side. She glances over her shoulder, then continues. There's no cult, Dad. Not really. Just people manipulated by something ancient. Something that feeds on... The video cuts out, replaced by static, then resumes with Eliza in a different location. Can't say more. They're watching. But know this. If I come back tomorrow, it won't be me. Not completely. Check the photos on this camera. I hid evidence where we camped on our last hike together. You'll understand when... Static again. When the image returns, Eliza looks directly into the camera, her expression resolute. I love you, Dad. Don't trust anyone, especially not me. The video ends. Mark stares at the blank screen, heart pounding. He navigates to the photo gallery. Dozens of images documenting Eliza's journey. Detailed shots of the underground settlement. Close-ups of ancient texts. And, most disturbing, medical. Images of what appears to be an autopsy. The subject's face not visible. Warren. The final photo, Eliza has written text directly on the image. Eagle Point, our last sunrise. A cold realization washes over Mark. Eagle Point, where they took their last photo together, where they watched the sunrise before heading home. She's left something there for him. The sound of footsteps interrupts his thoughts, someone approaching the cavern entrance. Mark tucks the camera into his pocket and presses himself against the wall beside the opening. Detective Ramos steps into the cavern, weapon drawn. Mark? He emerges from his hiding place, relief flooding through him. Lena. Thank God. The extraction team is searching for you. We need to move. She holsters her weapon. What did you find? Mark hesitates, Eliza's warning echoing in his mind. Don't trust anyone. Just this, he says, showing her the empty box. Whatever was inside is gone. Ramos studies him, her expression unreadable. No sign of the woman you were following? None. The lie comes easily. She nods, seemingly satisfied. Let's go. Helicopter's waiting. As they exit the cavern, 5 armed agents in tactical gear materialize from the forest, surrounding them. Federal agents, one announces. You're in a restricted area. Ramos shows her badge. Detective Lena Ramos, Silverpine PD. This is Mark Thornton. We have authorization from... No civilians are authorized, the agent interrupts. We have orders to detain and question. Question about what? Mark demands. About why you broke into a government research facility. About how you accessed classified materials. About your interference in matters of national security. Ramos steps forward. This man is helping with a missing persons investigation. That investigation was closed 5 years ago, Detective, by your department. Mark notices something odd. The agent's eyes reflect blue light, though there is none in the forest around. Them. We need to confirm your identities, the agent says, removing a small device from his pocket. It looks like a portable scanner. Standard procedure. As he approaches with the device, Mark recalls Eliza's words about being chosen and something ancient that feeds. Acting on instinct, he grabs Ramos's arm. Run! These aren't agents. He shoves her toward the dense underbrush and follows, ducking under a barrage of tranquilizer darts that thud into trees around them. They sprint through the forest, the sounds of pursuit close behind. Ramos is faster, pulling ahead. This way, she calls, veering toward what looks like a sheer cliff face. Mark follows, confused until he sees it. A narrow gap in the rock, almost invisible unless viewed from exactly the right angle. They squeeze through into a natural tunnel that opens, into a broader passage. Ramos leads confidently, as if she's traveled this route before. How did you know about this? Mark asks between labored breaths. Local knowledge. The extraction point is just ahead. The passage gradually ascends, eventually emerging onto a small plateau. A helicopter sits waiting, rotors already spinning. As they approach, Mark notices insignia on the helicopter's side, the same spiral symbol from the underground chamber. He stops abruptly. That's not our extraction. Ramos turns, her expression shifting from confusion to something harder. Don't be ridiculous, Mark. We need to leave now. Where's your backup team? The ones you said were coming? Her hand moves subtly toward her. Weapon. Already aboard. Come on. Mark backs away slowly. You're with them. You've been with them all along. 5 years, Mark. 5 years I've watched you search. Helped you when I could. Misdirected you when necessary. Her voice remains calm. It was supposed to be simple. The fake evidence in the ravine, leading you to the gateway on the appointed night. Why? Why all this manipulation? Because we need you there when she returns. A father's recognition. A father's validation. Ramos takes a step toward him. Eliza might be the one returning tomorrow night. Wouldn't you want to be there? To welcome her back? That wouldn't be Eliza, Mark says, remembering the video. Not completely. Ramos smiles sadly. Smart man. But it doesn't matter what you know now. She draws her weapon. You're coming with us either way. A shot rings out, not from Ramos's gun but from the tree line behind Mark. Ramos crumples. Tranquilizer dart protruding from her neck. Move, a voice shouts. The wild-haired woman from the forest emerges, now wielding a rifle. More coming. Mark doesn't hesitate. He follows her back into the forest as shouts erupt behind them. They run for what feels like hours, the woman leading him through ravines and game trails no casual hiker would notice. Eventually, they reach a camouflaged bunker built into a hillside. Inside, rudimentary but effective amenities. A camp stove, sleeping bags, stored food, and water. Who are you? Mark asks when they're finally safe inside. Tanya Wu, she answers, her voice hoarse from disuse. The fourth to enter, the first to escape. You're one of the missing hikers in Ramos's file. She nods. 3 months ago. But time moves differently. There. Where? What is this gateway they keep talking about? Tanya sits heavily on a storage crate. A doorway between dimensions. Discovered centuries ago by indigenous tribes who knew to fear it. rediscovered in the 1940s by government scientists, studied, exploited. But why take 5 women? The gateway requires specific electromagnetic patterns, human brains with precise neural configurations. She taps her temple. We were selected based on brain scans disguised as routine medical tests. The 5 most compatible minds open the way. To what? To them. Tanya's voice drops to a whisper. The things waiting on the other side. Ancient, hungry. They feed on consciousness, on knowledge. They take 5, return 1, changed. Changed how? Hollowed, out, refilled. She meets his gaze. The body returns. The mind. Not exactly. Mark thinks of Eliza's warning. If I come back, it won't be me. Why help me? He asks. You don't know me or Eliza. Because tomorrow night the cycle completes. 1 returns. Eliza, or one of the others. But in doing so, the gateway widens. More can come through. Tanya checks her rifle. We have to stop it. How? This is clearly a massive operation. Government involvement. Resources we can't match. We don't fight the people. We close the gateway. She produces a small device from her pocket. It looks like a homemade explosive. From the inside. You want to go back through? Mark is aghast. After escaping. It's the only way, but I need coordinates from your daughter's camera. She mapped the weak points during her time there. Mark pulls out the camera. How did you know about this? We communicated. Between worlds. Briefly. Tanya takes the camera, navigating to specific photos with practiced movements. These energy readings. This is what we need. As she studies the images, Mark notices something alarming. Blue light reflecting in her eyes, just like the fake agents. When exactly did you escape? He asks casually, edging toward the door. 3 weeks ago, she answers without looking up. Why? Because Detective Ramos said your backpack was found 3 months ago. Tanya freezes. When she looks up, her smile is no longer human. Smart man. But it doesn't matter what you know now. The camera clicks on its own, its lens pointing directly at Mark. Who just snapped that photo, and why? Mark lunges for the bunker door as Tanya, or whatever is wearing her form, advances. Her eyes glow with unnatural blue light. The others just want to talk, she says, her voice overlapping with whispers. They've waited so long to explain. Mark yanks the door open, finding Michael Cleary outside with armed guards. No more running, Mr. Thornton, Cleary says calmly. Mark slams the door shut and frantically searches for an escape route. He spots a ventilation shaft in the rear wall. You're not Tanya Wu, Mark says, backing toward it. The real Tanya is still missing or dead. I am Tanya, just improved. She tilts her head. We don't destroy consciousness. We elevate it. Mark pries off the ventilation grate and dives in as Tanya lunges. Her fingers graze his ankle as he pulls himself into darkness. The tunnel slopes downward until he emerges onto a steep hillside. Mark orients himself using Eliza's compass. Eagle Point lies to the north, where Eliza said she left evidence. He hikes through the night, evading search parties and helicopters. By afternoon, he reaches Eagle Point, the familiar outcropping where they camped 5 years ago. Nothing is visible on the surface, but Mark remembers the lightning-struck pine they'd commented on during their last trip. He reaches inside its hollow trunk and pulls out a waterproof case. Inside lies a thumb drive and a handwritten letter. Dad, if you're reading this, I've confirmed what I suspected. The disappearances, the lights, the whispers, it's all connected to what's beneath Whisper Rock. I've documented everything on this drive. I'm going in tomorrow to gather final proof. If I don't return, get this to people you trust. Not law enforcement, not government. They're involved. I love you. E. A twig snaps behind him. Mark turns to find Detective Ramos, looking, haggard with a bruise on her temple. "Don't run," she says, hands raised. "I'm not with them. Not anymore." "Why should I believe you?" "Because I've seen what they're doing." She takes a tentative step forward. "I joined the task force thinking we were monitoring a cult. By the time I realized what was really happening, I was in too deep." "So you played double agent? Led me into their trap?" "I followed orders until yesterday, when I saw what came out of that shaft." Ramos shudders. "Nothing that returns from there is fully human, including Eliza, if she comes back tonight." Ramos nods grimly. "Whatever returns might look like her, talk like her, but it won't be her. Not completely." She shows him video evidence she's been gathering and leads him to a hidden cache of weapons and explosives. "Tonight wasn't supposed to be the night," she explains, "but when you found the boot, everything accelerated. As darkness falls, they infiltrate the research facility through a drainage culvert. They navigate a maze of tunnels until reaching an observation booth overlooking the main chamber. Below, the shaft pulses with blue light. Technicians operate complex machinery while Cleary directs operations. Most personnel evacuate as alarms sound. Energy signatures detected. Transition imminent. The observation booth door slides open. Mark and Ramos spin around, weapons raised. Young woman stands in the doorway, thin, pale, with haunted eyes. "Eliza." Mark's heart stops. "Dad," she says, her voice exactly as he remembers. "You came." "Is it really you?" "Not exactly." Her eyes remain normal, no blue glow, but something in them is different. "But enough of me is still here." "You crossed." "Through," Ramos says. "You're one of the returned." 4 years ago. They don't know I'm here. They think I'm contained." 4 years? "But you only disappeared 5. Time moves differently between worlds. I spent a year there, then 3 years here, under observation." "You left me clues," Mark says. "The boot, the journal. Those weren't from me. They have another agenda." Eliza moves to the window. "But I left you the camera, the thumb drive, the truth." "Which is what?" Ramos demands. "A transaction, species to species." Eliza's voice remains calm. "They offer knowledge. We offer vessels." "Vessels? Human bodies?" 5 enter, 4 are taken. 1 returns as ambassador. "And you're that ambassador?" Mark studies his daughter's face. "I was supposed to be, but the integration failed. I retained too much of myself." Pride flickers in her eyes. "You taught me to fight, Dad, to survive." "What do we do now?" Ramos asks. "We can't stop tonight's return, but we can ensure it's the last." Eliza explains her plan to collapse the chamber with explosives. "What about you?" Mark asks. "You said closing the gateway requires the blood of one who's crossed." Eliza meets his gaze. "Trust no one, even your own protector." Mark hesitates. "How do I know you're really Eliza? That enough of her remains?" She takes his hand. 2 weeks. Before I left, you told me a secret you'd never told anyone else, about why you and Mom really separated." Mark's breath catches. No one else could know that conversation. Below them, the blue light intensifies. A low growl emerges from the shaft. "It's time," Eliza says. "Will you trust me, Dad? One last time?" Mark looks into her eyes and makes his choice. "What's the plan?" A low growl reverberates from deeper in the complex. What else lies hidden beneath the mountain? Mark and Ramos emerge from the facility, the detonator clutched in Mark's hand. Alarms sound behind them as they reach the designated rendezvous point to wait for Eliza. 10 minutes pass with no sign of her. "We can't wait any longer," Ramos urges. "If the gateway fully opens, A blinding flash illuminates the night, followed by a concussive blast. From the main facility, flames erupt through windows. A figure runs toward them. Eliza, her clothing singed. "We need to go," she shouts. "Cleary initiated self-destruct protocols?" "What about the gateway?" Mark calls. "Temporarily disrupted, not destroyed. We still need to collapse the chamber." She points to the detonator. "Do it. Now." Mark hesitates. The Eliza in the video warned him not to trust anyone, including her, but this Eliza is urging immediate action. "What happened in there?" he asks. "What did you do for a diversion?" "Released the other subjects, the ones who returned before me." Eliza tugs at his arm. "There's no time." Mark meets Ramos's eyes. She gives a subtle nod. "Something's off. The evidence at Eagle Point," Mark says carefully. "What was on the thumb drive?" "Data, research files, everything to expose them." The answer comes too quickly. Mark steps back. "You're not her. Not entirely." Eliza's expression hardens. "Enough games. The gateway is destabilizing." A distant roar echoes from the facility. Inhuman, powerful. "They're coming," Not Eliza says. "Give me the detonator." "No." Mark backs away. "My daughter warned me. If I come back, it won't be me." Eliza's eyes flare with blue light, brief but unmistakable. "We offered her knowledge beyond human comprehension. We elevated her. Where is she? Where is my daughter? I am your daughter, improved, connected to something greater." The roaring grows louder. The ground trembles. "Last chance," the thing wearing Eliza's face says. "Give me the detonator, or—" "Witness what comes next." Mark's thumb hovers over the trigger. Could some part of his daughter still exist within this entity? A gunshot cracks through the night. Not Eliza stumbles, a bloom of red spreading across her shoulder. Ramos stands with her weapon raised. "Do it, Mark! Now!" Not Eliza lunges. Mark presses the trigger. The explosion is massive, a chain reaction as each charge detonates. The ground heaves violently. The research facility collapses inward, dust billowing into the night sky. When the rumbling stops, Mark notices the figure that had been Eliza is gone. "Where did she go?" he demands, spinning in place. Fresh footprints lead away from their position, toward the trailhead. "She survived," Mark whispers. "But which she is it?" Ramos asks. "Your daughter, or whatever was wearing her face." Mark clutches the silver bracelet in his pocket, the only piece of his daughter he knows is real. "I will find you, Eliza," he vows. "Whoever, whatever you are now." Dawn breaks over the mountain as emergency vehicles converge on the remains of the facility. Mark and Ramos watch from a distance, their story agreed upon. Hikers who witnessed an industrial accident. "What will you do now?" Ramos asks. "Follow those footprints. Find the truth." Mark's expression hardens with determination. "And bring my daughter home, whatever part of her remains." As they begin the long hike back to civilization, neither notices the fresh footprints leading in the opposite direction. Toward them. Prints that weren't there moments before. Is someone, or something, following their every move?